Disney Pixar presenta Coco, una aventura en el mundo de los muertos en la que descubriremos el verdadero significado de la familia y los sueños. Yo soy Fer Ramírez y acompáñame a esta entrevista con Darla Anderson, Lee Unkrich y Adrián Molina, creadores de la nueva película de Pixar, Coco.
Hi, how are you?
Great. I'm feeling so good. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
Well, I'm really excited to be here. And I wanted to say that Coco succeeds marvelously on doing this, on showing this Mexican culture. How was the research for such culture and the Day of the Dead celebration?
When we first came up with the idea of telling a story that was inspired by Dia de Muertos, it was 6 years ago. And as soon as we pitched it to the studio and John Lasseter was excited about telling such a story, we immediately got on a plane and headed down to Mexico to begin research. That was right during Dia de Muertos 6 years ago.
Before we even got very deep in the story, we knew what is the meaning behind these traditions, what is the purpose, what is the duty of remembrance. So we got to come to many different regions in Mexico. We went to Michoacán, Oaxaca, Guanajuato, Mexico City, and experienced how Day of the Dead is celebrated in similar ways, and also what the differences are place to place.
And that was the first of many trips that we went on.
We then later went up to Guanajuato, and you can see a lot of that in the Land of the Dead. That really inspired us to help kind of try to figure out how to crack the code of how we were imagining the Land of the Dead.
We took a lot of pictures and visited a lot of places, but the most important thing is that we spent a lot of time with families. A lot of the trip was spent just embedding ourselves with lovely families all over Mexico, and they shared with us their traditions and the way they celebrated Dia de Muertos, but also just how they lived their day-to-day lives. And all of those lovely people that we spent time with, all of their stories and things that we experienced with them ended up becoming a part of the, not only the look of Coco, but it ended up inspiring many things in the story as well.
Well, you know, my family is from Michoacán.
Oh, cool.
And one of my favorite characters is Abuelita, because she reminds me a lot of my grandma. Do you have any favorite character from this movie?
I have a lot of love for all of the characters. One of my favorites is Mama Imelda, because I feel like she's when the story begins, you don't know much about her except the stories that are passed down, and she seems kind of unreasonable and you know, kind of comically strict in terms of her rule of no music causes Miguel a lot of problems. But then when you have the opportunity to go to the Land of the Dead and actually meet these ancestors, you realize there's so much more to her story and so much nuance and so much depth to her character that I think surprises even Miguel. So she was really interesting to me.
I love all the characters, but I love the whole matriarchal line, and that starts with Imelda. And I love how strong and beautiful and dynamic.
Badass.
Yeah.
Badass leader, final leader.
I like her a lot.
Well, I mean, I like all of them. They're like my family. But I mean, Miguel, really. I mean, Miguel is me in some ways. Luckily, I didn't have a family that disapproved of what I wanted to do. My family was very supportive. But I like watching Miguel struggle to be who he believes he is inside. But he, he still loves his family, and he wants his family to accept him. And that's such a big part of Coco, is seeing that struggle that Miguel has to go through.
And you know, the Land of the Dead has such colorful characters like the Alebrijes.
Yes.
If you could have one, what do you think it would look like?
I think Pepita might be too much Alebrije for me to handle. I don't know. I kind of like the porcupines.
Okay.
They're prickly but adorable. So.
And you can put food in there.
You can put food on them. Yeah.
That's funny.
I think mine would be a monkey, probably very much like Frida Kahlo's Alebrije monkey that she has in the movie.
It's a cool monkey, actually.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I'm torn between a made-up Alebrije that's a horse with wings and stuff, but I really love Pepita. Pepita is a very, very, very cool Alebrije.
It's a wild animal. I love it.
Yeah.
And finally, have you got your friends ready for this year?
We do. Yes, and we have one set up at Pixar. In the main atrium when you walk in, we set it up a few days ago. And we started it on our film in all the various departments while we were making the movie. And then at Pixar, we started it for the whole company last year.
We have a giant ofrenda in the lobby, and everyone who works at Pixar is able to bring in photos of loved ones to place on the ofrenda. And I think it's a tradition that will keep going into the future.
I want to see that ofrenda, like really want to. Thank you very much. It was such a pleasure to meet you and an honor, because you both are my heroes. So I'm gonna go now.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Cinéfilo, si te gustó esta entrevista, no olvides darle like y compartir el video. También puedes seguirme en mis redes sociales como @hernameisfer. Yo soy Fer Ramírez y nos vemos a la próxima.